G'day Plantifyers, Jess here and welcome back to the garden. It's the windy dry season here in the subtropics, and it's that time of year where we have to actually water things to keep them alive, unlike the rest of the year. I'm doing a pretty early what I'm growing video this month for September because we're about to head overseas for a month, and I wanted to give you an update on what's happening before we leave. But I will also be doing another video next week showing you some of the prep that we're doing before we leave our garden for a month. We do have a house sitter who is going to be hopefully watering things for us, but it's best to have things sorted before she has to worry about that. So the lovely citrus flowers are in bloom. Our orchard smells amazing at the moment, as is the native frangipani, which also smells lovely. The eggplants have never stopped. Well, I lie, they did stop for a little while, but for some reason they just decide to keep on keeping on. And the tomatoes are starting to actually ripen. So I have been able to harvest a bunch of tomatoes this week, although as you can see, they're not fully ripe, but after an experience you'll see in a minute, I decided it was best to get them off the vine while they are not quite fully ripe, because they can just finish ripening indoors. And these are the Roma tomatoes here. Not as big as I would have liked, but this is my first time growing them and I just wanted to see what would happen. I think perhaps they needed a little bit more nutrition, which I have now provided, because I'm hoping these will keep growing for a while yet before it gets really, really hot. Although this spot they're in, they will get very warm very quickly. And I also have some other larger tomato variety over here that is ready. I can't remember what this one is off the top of my head. I do have it labeled, but I can't remember what it is. But this one did not go so well. I think it's because, look, honestly, I don't know. Again, I'm new to this, but you can see that there's some rot and some issues with these ones. Maybe inconsistent watering, maybe some other issue. If you have any ideas, please let me know below. I am still new to big tomato growing. And this is why I wanted to get them before they went fully ripe. I'm not sure if this was, they just overripe and fell off, or an animal tried to get to them and kind of chewed through them. So again, protecting as many tomatoes as I can with bags to at least prevent the fruit fly from getting to them, hopefully, and maybe protecting them from some of the bigger critters that like to munch on the fruit in my garden as well. And of course, sometimes you just have tomatoes like this one that came out of the compost. I did not plant it. And blueberries. The blueberries are flowering and starting to fruit, so I'm excited about that. I hope we actually get some blueberries off them this year. That would be really nice. They were in the ground previously and I just don't think the pH of the soil was good, so I put them in grow bags with acidic soil. And little tiny purple cauliflower. Not exactly a bumper crop, but it's pretty. We also have other brassicas growing, like this little broccoli, which I believe is the variety that is meant to grow lots of side stems, which may be why it's so small. I'm not sure. I've had big ones in the past that were much bigger than this, but you can see the side stems coming out here. So I'm thinking that's what's happening here. Speaking of broccoli, have you ever seen broccoli go to flower? This is what it looks like. I decided to let this one go to flower to see what it would look like, and the bees are loving it. I did get some good brassicas. Look at this sugarloaf cabbage. Very happy with that. We finally picked it this week and ate it in a beautiful salad. I've been like dying to pick this, but I wanted to wait until the last minute. I didn't know how big it would get, but I figured that was pretty great. So I was happy with that. It was delicious. And we've got a few more just on the side of the screen there. You might be able to see them. A few more coming on as well. But I think our house sitter will be the one who enjoys those. Some radishes in my chaos vegetable bed. They have grown well, so I'm going to eat those this week. There are some daikons coming on in here as well, and a few carrots popping up. I did actually re-sow some more stuff into here, which I'll show you later in the video because it's a bit too sparse. And the green manure bed is ready to be cut back, and I'll show you that in next week's video. So make sure to subscribe if you want to see what I do with that. Now, the nasturtiums here need a cutback. In my spring cleaning video, you would have seen all of the nasturtiums that I pruned away. It was a little bit insane. I left this one though because it was flowering really well and I wanted to leave it for the pollinators. But it's gotten to the point now where all of the seeds are setting, and if you've ever grown nasturtiums, you know how invasive they can be. So I wanted to minimize the chances of growing 11 million more nasturtium plants here, and that's why I'm pulling it all out. And this is not going in the compost. It's not going anywhere that it can sprout and grow. It is going to go into the green waste, and they can deal with it. There's some other nasturtiums over here that I just wanted to cut back rather than completely removing, and because I didn't have too much on those and they didn't have any seeds on them, I just put them in my in-bed worm farms, which I have actually filmed a video for, but I haven't published it yet. I'll probably do that in October or so. I'll show you how to make these. They're bamboo and they have holes in them to let the worms get in and eat all the goodies and then distribute the nutrients throughout the garden bed. So they're in all the big beds. And here I am later on in the day removing those nasturtiums and putting them somewhere safe so they cannot spread. The nectarine tree is fruiting, and I wanted to make sure to protect the fruit from fruit fly and also from the birds, because they will be coming at it pretty soon if I leave it, and they will just eat everything. So I decided to net the tree, and I've got a couple of nets here. I've got a proper fruit fly net, and I also have an old net curtain, which is fine enough to stop the fruit fly as well, hopefully. Fingers crossed. If nothing else, it'll keep the birds off and mean that we actually, or our house sitter will actually get to eat these rather than the birds eating them. So it was just a case of popping the nets over the tree and then pegging them on and making sure the pegs were actually holding it all together so it can't blow open, and also making sure that the pegs were holding it securely around the bottom of the tree to try to keep things from getting in from the bottom as well, because it's easy enough to just like chuck a net over the top, but it's not going to protect it against something coming up from underneath or the fruit fly. Again, I don't know if this net is enough for that, but hopefully it means we will get more fruit than we would have otherwise. So it's just going to sit here at the end of the pathway looking like a strange ghost while we wait for that fruit to actually grow and be ready to eat. And the pegs I used are these lovely metal pegs that I got, I think at Aldi a while ago. The Chaos Flower Garden is going strong. You can see the nasturtiums there. Just nasturtiums everywhere, honestly. They are growing, they are flowering. Of course, they're ahead of everything else because they just go crazy in our climate. These are really pretty peach Melba ones. And you can see a bunch of other stuff coming up as well. It's only just coming on to the point where it'll start to flower soon. So I'll probably miss the first lot of flowers while I'm away. Now, when I was out in the garden the other day, I saw all of these stems. I was letting this stuff go to flower, and all of these stems had been chewed off, and we weren't sure who the culprit was. I mean, is it a turkey? Not really something turkeys do. Is it a possum? And then I was sitting out there in the afternoon on the veranda, just enjoying looking at the garden, and the culprits made themselves known to me by arriving en masse. Can you see them? Yes. It's the cockatoos. They have discovered the yummy stems of these plants, and this one was brazen enough to do it right in front of me. And off she goes with her bounty plundered from my garden. She obviously likes the taste of pak choi as much as we do. And they're not the only pests. Of course, the turkeys are very active at this time of year. We put mulch down on this bed and they've just been scratching it off onto the driveway, so we've covered it. They kept scratching this one out of the ground, so we've covered it as well. It's all about defensive gardening here on the Sunshine Coast. So now let's have a look at what I'm planting this month. Down here in the vine garden, we've got some watermelons. And you can see there's another vine actually growing there already. I think one of those is a watermelon, a sweet watermelon, like the red variety. I've got some tromboncinos, which I grew last year, not very successfully, but I'm hoping this year I will give them more nutrients and more water, and I will get more tromboncinos, and I will also have to protect them from the possums, who also liked to eat them last year. And then next we have some Queensland blue pumpkin. So these are pretty hardy, and as the name suggests, they grow well in our climate. So I'm hoping that we will get a bunch of pumpkins out of those. I didn't have a lot of luck with pumpkins last year, I think because I planted a lot of them here and the soil was just still too poor, but I have worked on improving it, so I'm hoping that we'll get some. We've also got some beetroot, some radish, and I think another beetroot that I'm putting into this chaos garden bed to hopefully fill in the gaps of what we have planted that is growing in there. I also, I believe, put some carrot in there, but I think I forgot to film that. But it's like a all year carrot, or year round, or I can't remember the exact name of it. All seasons maybe, is that it? So hopefully, you know, this is not the ideal time to be planting carrots in our climate. It's probably going to be pretty warm, but I'm going to give it a crack anyway and see what happens, see if they germinate in the cooler nights that we still have before it gets too warm for them to germinate. That is my hope anyway. It might be that it's just too hot during the day and they just won't germinate. And I think that might have been part of the problem with the other ones. I don't know, I've never had a lot of luck with carrots, so let me know if you have any tips for growing them in our climate, because I would like to grow more of them. And then some capsicum and some jalapenos. I'm popping in the little bit of empty space I have in this bed, and then just putting some lettuce in there as well to fill in the gaps. I'm actually not really planning on leaving these plants where they are now. I'm basically just using this as a seedling raising area because we are going away, and I don't want to put seedlings in little trays because they'll just dry out and not survive. So my plan is, if these do actually germinate and grow, I'll probably dig them up and distribute them throughout the garden later in the year when they get a bit bigger, and hopefully that way I'll be a bit further ahead of the game than I would be if I waited till I got back to plant these out, because it will already be getting pretty warm by that stage in mid-October, although I may do another lot of these then as well. But again, I've had not a lot of luck with capsicums in the past, even though my chilies have just been growing like crazy, so I don't quite know what that's about, but we're going to try again. It's always about trying again, seeing what happens. And then, as you can see, just spreading that lettuce seed that I collected last year around to fill in the gaps, because I really don't like leaving bare soil as much as possible, but sometimes you need to in order to sow stuff. Thank you so much for watching this month's What I'm Growing video. It'll be interesting to see how the garden looks next month when we get back from our trip. So if you want to see the progress and how it survived, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss that one. And if you want to see what I'm doing to prepare for my holiday, make sure to subscribe and watch next week's video. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.